What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp, managing editor, FightfulWrestling.com. Go there to get all of your wrestling news. We had a big weekend, Elimination Chamber, a lot of MMA events. We have the MMA podcast Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern. But for now, we're talking SmackDown, or WWE Raw, rather. We'll be talking SmackDown Live on Tuesday. We'll be talking business and news on Wednesday with the list and your boy. If you all missed it this weekend, I posted for free the Abducted in Plain Sight review. Alex, have you seen this movie yet?
No, I've read about it. I can't. Like I know
you'll be mad. You'd be mad.
I don't need that in my life, man. I as it is, I never have time to watch anything but wrestling. Like, because whatever my daughter wants to watch is what we want to watch. I'm not going to watch that with her. Sure.
Guys, if you all want to support Fightful.com directly and our independent coverage of pro wrestling, MMA, and boxing, we have a pro wrestling premium service, Fightful Select, dozens of podcasts a month. I post a lot of early access stuff up there, over 200 items since we launched early access. And we post a lot of news tidbits that we reveal on this show and others as I get them. So head over there. There's probably something that you like up there. This week, I'm filming a couple of retro reviews, but we got a lot to talk about. We got WWE Raw to talk about. We have Hall of Fame stuff to talk about. But how about this? I'm not going to do a Blue Chew segue unless Alex talks about boners on his own. If Alex just gets up and decides to talk about them on his own, we'll get into it. But we had pretty big news. Alistair Black, Johnny Gargano, Ricochet, Tommaso Ciampa, some NXT names just popping up on Raw today, Alex.
Yeah. When I first heard the report, I was like, haha, that funny joke. But still, at this point, it feels like, I mean, is it a full call-up? Is it like a call-up half the time? Is it like it's a call-up as soon as Tommaso and Johnny drop the titles? Listen, whatever it is, I'm just happy that Raw is going in a new direction.
What's that, Alex?
I said I'm happy that Raw is going in a new direction.
That's it. You did it. Nude erection. Our buddies at BlueChew.com have that for you. You know, if you want, they weren't the only things that popped up tonight on Raw. Maybe it was the nude erection. And it was probably because of Blue Chew, something that this crowd in Lafayette could have used. Blue Chew can enhance your performance and, quite frankly, the crowd reactions that you get from said performance. And I think everybody could have used a little bit. Even if you're good to go, Blue Chew can still enhance your performance. It brings you the first chewable with the same FDA-approved active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, so you know they work. Take them anytime, day or night, even on a full stomach. And since they're chewable, they work up to twice as fast as a pill. They're prescribed online, shipped straight to your door in a discreet package. No in-person doctor's visits. No waiting at the pharmacy. No more awkwardness. They're made in the USA and prepare and ship direct. Right now, you get them for free. Use that code FIGHTFUL. Somebody says, oh, Sean, you're trying too hard. I'm like, no, I'm not. Not with Blue Chew. Not with Blue Chew. Get out of my live chat. Get out of my live chat. Alex, as you were saying, yeah. NXT Call Ups. A bit random, a bit odd. Vince McMahon wanted to shake things up a bit, but there were people on the SmackDown brand and NXT who had no idea this was happening today.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, two of these guys, I feel like you could make an absolute argument for. They've done what they needed to do in NXT. They're ready to come up. They have no encumbrances, i.e. title belts they would need to lose. I'll stay away from NXT taping spoilers for one of those guys. But, I mean, we've seen Sasha Banks come up and be a full-time member of the NXT, of the WWE roster, while also still holding the women's championship. I mean, I think she held it for like 5 weeks before she lost it to Bayley, something like that. I don't know what their plans are with Gargano and Ciampa as far as what they're going to do with those titles. But we'll certainly see. As far as the other two, those two guys, Black and Ricochet felt like the most, hey, these guys are on Raw now kinds of matches, as opposed to DIY coming up and, stealing one from the Revival.
Although they were the tag champions, and they did beat the tag champions there. We'll talk more about that, but like I said, a lot of people caught off guard by this today within WWE. And keep in mind, they have a whole mess of call-ups that they haven't done anything with yet.
Yeah,
EC3 was not on this show. I don't know what Heavy Machinery did, but we're going to break it down later. It was real weird.
It was.
Whoo boy. But yeah, NXT call-ups, maybe it'll pop a rating. And a lot of people say, well, why don't they make it a surprise? I did an interview with Jimmy Jacobs a while back. It's well worth a listen. He really goes in depth about why they do that. He said, man, it's really awesome to have a person debut or The Undertaker show up and get a surprise. But when you compare the numbers that we would do when we would announce it ahead of time, you see why they announce it ahead of time. But Triple H comes out, runs down Elimination Chamber, mentions the DX induction in the Hall of Fame. Now, we posted this. I mean, I guess you could say we broke it, but we didn't. Adult Swim broke it, and somebody leaked it to us on Twitter. So the Cartoon Network is out there breaking news.
Yep.
Now, of course, WWE did the thing where they said ESPN is breaking the news, but it's Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Road Dogg, Billy Gunn, X-Pac, and Chyna. So Chyna is in the Hall of Fame. Your thoughts, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of like, Chyna should have gotten in on her own. Well, I don't know if that was ever going to happen. This is a clever end run around that. If they wanted to get her in a different way. I was never the biggest DX guy. I thought they had some fun shenanigans and stuff that was done that frankly never should have been done. A blackface promo kind of rings a bell as things that may have been over the line. I mean, I know it was 20 years ago, but still. I will always remember them for the invasion of the WCW Nitro taping. That was the thing for me that kind of like solidified in my brand.
Well, you better get ready to hear that story a few times before.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. The speech with all of them up there, just them, rambling about that. That should be a good 45-minute one.
So DX is in the Hall of Fame. We'll talk about that. I've got a column on Sean Waltman coming out this week. I really feel like because of Triple H going into the Hall, Shawn Michaels being a 2-time inductee, Billy Gunn being an AEW but still going in, and then Chyna being in, that Sean Waltman is kind of overshadowed. So I'm going to take a look at that this week. The article is already up on Select for Tier 2 members. Triple H then announces several NXT names are making their debuts tonight. Ricochet, Johnny Gargano, Alistair Black, Tommaso Ciampa. None of them really got any good pops at the open of the show, which is a real bad omen for the rest of this night.
The rule of thumb, generally, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that the big cities are where you get a lot of your hardcore fans who come to Raw, and they're the ones who are going to watch NXT religiously, love these guys, and are going to cheer for them. And small towns, of which Lafayette, Louisiana would qualify, are usually families, more casuals, people who are there wearing their John Cena t-shirts, and they might not watch NXT, or at least when he's
or the show that they're at.
Or right, exactly. At NXT, I mean, and when he mentioned NXT, there were like, a good half dozen people in the audience who tried to get a NXT chant going. And I think a lot of people were like, I don't know what that is. This is not the best place to debut these four fellows.
We kick off the night's matches with a tables match. Braun Strowman defeated Baron Corbin, who apparently no longer has friends. The two brawl outside the ring, but Braun's ribs give way and Corbin attacks. Strowman reverses a suplex on the ramp, throws Corbin into the LED boards on top of that ramp. We come back from commercial, and I did think it was kind of funny, the booking. Corbin, realistically, did to a less severe degree at Elimination Chamber what Strowman did to him at TLC. A bunch of people showed up and kicked his ass. So then we finally get the score settled, and Strowman ends up hitting Corbin with the stairs, putting him through the table. Now, Corbin was real smooth with that boss man spot around the table the first time. Went to the well again, got thrown into it. No Drew McIntyre, no Bobby Lashley, which goes to show you that last night, as of right now, didn't mean shit. And that was a recurring theme this evening, Alex.
Yeah. I don't know why you have Corbin's buddies come out and deliver the beatdown to Strowman last night. If tonight they're not going to get involved, at least it appears to me that finally, mercifully, this feud is at an end.
Almost everything in the ring tonight counteracted something that happened last night.
Yeah,
or had nothing to do with it. It's pretty wild. So this match happened. Braun wins. All right.
All I want is for this thing to be over and for both people to move on to something else. I do not know. Still have major problems with Baron Corbin still wearing the GM attire afterwards. And also, they said this thing during the commentary that Braun Strowman is the reason that Corbin's no longer the GM, which is just false. Like, all the McMahons came out and said, actually, we know who to blame for all of our terrible ratings and us sucking. It's that guy. Braun Strowman wasn't the one who said, hey, it's him. Seth Rollins was the one who said, come out, it's you. It's a weird thing that they were like retroactively blaming Corbin losing his GM spot on Strowman, which did not happen.
Strowman meets Paul Heyman on the ramp and kind of intimidates him. And Heyman sells it to the degree to where they had to go to a commercial. I thought that was a nice touch that Strowman shook him up so much that they were like, okay, we're going to give him through the commercial to kind of regroup and say what he needs to say. That was a nice touch. Probably, honestly, the pop of the night, too.
Yeah.
Anything else on that? Or are you just going to...
No, I mean, it was... I like the Paul Heyman being petrified of Braun if Braun takes one step toward him as being like a character trait that is consistent for months now. If we ever finally get Braun beating Brock, it'll actually be the culmination of a long time of him wanting to get his hands on Brock in a fair fight, although they've had several, and every time Brock has put him down pretty easily. So we'll just forget about those if they want us to forget about those, because storytelling.
So what we get is Paul Heyman throwing to what I thought was a nice series of videos of Brock Lesnar's career, and WWE does this very well. And sometimes you do forget all that has happened with Brock Lesnar. I mean, he has legitimately accomplished so much, especially in those first 2 years. But I mean, quite frankly, there are times I forget that he was the guy that stopped the Undertaker streak because the match was so forgettable. It was all a moment, but he's done an awful lot. And I remember back then people thought, oh, why are they? I mean, people still think, why did they give it to him? But because there was the impression that he was going to leave soon thereafter. And that didn't end up happening. He's still around. But any thoughts on this series of videos that we saw?
It's a weird deal. It's like, hey, remember Brock Lesnar? Well, you wouldn't need to remind us about him if he actually showed up every now and then. But also, it kind of made me think like it was like so when we keep the title on him after Mania, remember these videos that prove to you why we're going to do that. Like it felt like a justification way ahead of time for the thing we all don't want.
Yes. Andrew Thompson's in the live chat. Go follow him at 80Thompson __. He will be with me in Las Vegas for Double or Nothing weekend. It's going to be good. We're going to have get some good content there. So give him a follow. He does a lot of great news writing for us. Up next, Finn Balor comes out and says that he grew up watching Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Ric Flair as Intercontinental Champions and will carry that on. He is interrupted by Alex. You guessed it. Lio Rush, who got attacked by Bobby Lashley last night. And tonight, he's setting up a distraction for Bobby Lashley. Man, this is weak. This is weak.
Yeah, there's not a lot of consistency. I mean, honestly, when Lashley attacked him, I thought there was like a 35% chance that this would happen. I mean, I wanted to give the benefit of the doubt, and it was better than 50-50 at least, that they would actually figure out how to do that. The problem is I don't know if Lashley by himself is as interesting as Lashley with Lio Rush. So maybe the turn shouldn't have happened, but once you do it, you kind of got to stick with it, right? I mean,
I have a lot of people that were saying, well, he can cut promos, he didn't impact, yada, yada. Yeah, but we saw what WWE does to that type of guy, and that's what we experienced for the first 7-8 months of their marriage together, Bobby Lashley and WWE, and it wasn't pretty. And Lio Rush is fantastic and necessary to that act.
Yeah, Lashley alone gets us Lashley's sisters as a segment. That was what they had for him to do when he was alone. And then when they didn't do that, they had him run an obstacle course. Those are the ideas they have with him by himself. I'd much prefer him, ironically, coming out and mooning me. That's the thing that we have with Lio Rush, which is better than him running an obstacle course or his sisters.
Yeah. It was rough, man. So they attack Finn Balor. Ricochet makes the save, and that match is going down. This was a damn good match. The timing for all these guys was on. I've often said the only person I've seen live who is more physically impressive to me than Ricochet is Lio Rush, and you get to see their interaction in the ring. It was a bunch of stuff that shouldn't be physically possible. Like, people shouldn't be able to move and react that fast, but they did. And it was really, really something to behold. These two guys are insane together. Ricochet handsprings out of a Hurricane Rana. You have Ricochet and Lio Rush. They are my low-key and Amazing Red from like 16, 17 years ago, where they are like a Mortal Kombat fight come to life. And that's very cool. Ricochet impresses against Lashley too. Balor comes in, ends up beating up Lio Rush pretty thoroughly. Lashley, did it look to you like he got busted open a little bit? I saw some blood flying around off that kick.
Yeah, I might have seen that too.
But I couldn't see like any specific split or anything like that. But a coup de grace is stopped by Lashley. This goes through a couple of commercials. Balor gets worked over. Ricochet gets the hot tag, and Lio Rush really sells like $1 million for him. There's a great Fosbury flop from Ricochet. And Ricochet is running from Bobby Lashley outside the ring, backflips off the barricade, which leads to Finn Balor drop kicking Lashley into the barricade. The timing on this from all three guys had to be perfect, and it was, Alex.
This is great. It's an amazing spot. You could do a hell of a lot worse than a Finn and Ricochet tag team at some point down the line, holding the belts. That might be fun. But this to me was the coming out party for Ricochet. They were obviously trying to get him to let him do all of his spots and really be spectacular. Letting him do his stuff opposite Lio, where we all know how fast Lio is, but oh wait, there's this other guy here who's just as fast, and also he's not intimidated at all by a dude who's way bigger than him. So that's a cool thing. We got to see all the facets of him. Got to see almost his entire moveset. Loved all of it, and then to be able to pair him with Finn, a new dimension as well as a new direction.
You know I'm all about new directions.
Mm-hmm.
A magnificent 630 on Lio Rush. You had mentioned the first time you saw this move, you thought it was camera trickery. When they slow it down, Alex, it looks like, gosh, what's that song with the meme where people just flip and roll, but they don't move? It looks like that. Like, how can he do that physically? I remember the first time I saw Too Cold Scorpio do a 450. I was like, that's it. Doesn't get any better than this. As it turns out, it does.
Yes, it does.
This was, I thought, a good highlight of Ricochet. And backstage, Finn Balor gives Ricochet the spotlight in their promos so Ricochet can cut a Live Your Dreams promo.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, I feel like that's authentic. I feel like all the emotion and the nervousness there was authentic. I feel like, as we said, this kind of blindsided a lot of people. So it's very possible that yesterday or whenever it was before he got the call, Ricochet was like, okay, I got another year maybe in NXT before I get called up. And all of a sudden he's like, hey kid, you're on the main roster now. Like, for a guy who's like, everyone's seen that old picture of very, very young Ricochet with Triple H. And you know how long this guy has been waiting to actually make the main roster of WWE. And the fact that it wasn't like a part of a long plan, but like, hey, right now, you're doing it. And for him to nail everything that he did in the ring, I'm excusing a little slip-ups during the promo because he was really, really in it at that moment.
Lucha House Party defeated the Major Brothers. Really, the story of this match to me was that interesting camera angle we saw as they cut to the match. It was like from the ramp towards the ring. It was almost like an NXT Season 1 camera angle. I like that. But Ryder and Hawkins get beaten up until Ryder gets a double neck breaker. Hawkins got some offense, including a Michinoku driver. He lands a kick, but walks into a Hurricane Rana pin from Dorado after the Metal Elite distraction. His last main roster win on TV in the States, 2011. He did get one overseas over Apollo Crews a couple years ago. I wonder if they regret giving him that win because it really did nothing.
Yeah, no, nothing at all. Yeah.
This was all right to me. It was short. It was sweet. Yeah, this is one of those matches I'll give on my match ratings like a 5 out of 10 because it was harmless, but I'll put in parentheses, very short match, graded on a scale.
Yeah, no, this is what it is. I'm fine with it. I think that, I'm hoping they're building toward something with the Major Brothers, although, as we saw later, great tag team wrestling is now possible on Raw. I don't need another B team run with the Major Brothers, mucking up the top of the Raw tag division. Now that great tag team wrestling is possible on Monday nights.
Speaking of great tag team wrestling, we saw the greatest tag team of our generation, Heavy Machinery, cutting maybe the most generic promo I have ever seen in my entire life. And when I say generic, I mean you get the normal guy explaining everything, and then you get Otis popping up and going, "Steaks!" And then Lacey Evans walks out and then turns around and walks back. So what do Heavy Machinery do? Apparently, in an effort to impress her, they do the Vince McMahon walk down the ramp.
Mm-hmm.
Now, pardon me while I at do what?
Yeah. This is the thing. Heavy Machinery loves to have fun. And as Corey Graves pointed out to Michael Cole,
commentary.
As Corey Graves pointed out to Michael Cole, when Michael Cole said that of the Lucha House Party, everybody likes to have fun, Michael. And Michael Cole had no response to that because he realized he had been checkmated. Yes, everybody likes to have fun. Listen, the promo is ridiculous. They've been trying to, figure out what to do with these guys for months now, along with Lacey Evans, along with Nikki Cross, along with EC3. We still haven't seen Lars. I don't know what's up with that. I'm not going to speculate. But the idea of these guys coming out in here being like, oh, we're going to do a little interview with Charlie, let you know who we are. Who we are is two big meatheads. We like to lift weights and eat steak. Okay, fine. The one possible silver lining about this whole thing is if we're headed to a deal where Lacey Evans is basically the manager of Heavy Machinery, and we do little skits backstage where she's trying to teach them how to have manners, that could be a fun little way to kill some time with comedy on Raw each week. And I'm fine with that. A little gender reversal, My Fair Lady, I'm cool with that. But because honestly, I don't know what you're going to do with these people otherwise.
So, yeah, and maybe that should have been the thing before they were called up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking to do comedy stuff Poor No Way Jose got called up last year. He's not done anything. He's not even doing what he's good at, which is starting live events off. Yeah. He's not doing anything.
This is the deal.
It's unreal. It's a mess.
You have two different ways of calling up a bunch of people. One, let's do a video package every week for apparently months, and then we finally debut them, but we have no idea what we're doing with them. Or alternatively, you can call up a bunch of other people in one day, bring them up, have them all have big matches, and have some kind of real direction for them. I don't know what, man, but you haven't done anything with the call-ups from the last time, so bring up a bunch of other new call-ups seems like you're just hoarding people onto the main roster. I don't know. That Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal is sure going to be stacked this year, I'll tell you that.
We see another Kevin Everyman Owens promo. He is very disappointed about movie theater costs, which I will say, if their goal is to make him relatable, they succeeded.
I love, like, listen, I absolutely can relate to his son. When my dad sent me to the concession stand with a 20 to buy concessions, there's no way he was getting any change, but there was always change. So I totally relate to his kid as well. This is great. I mean, like, I totally buy his, like, while I was gone and home, I realized what's actually important and what I fight for, and it's my family. And I'm totally in on, like, devoted dad Kevin Owens as this, scrappy baby face. Like, let's make it work. Let's see how it works. I'm absolutely willing to give it a shot. I think these things are great. That little touch where he dropped his phone but caught it before it hit the ground, I loved it. I'm in love with this guy. I have been forever. I'm waiting to see how a babyface Kevin Owens could work, because he's always been dastardly. So I'm totally down to see how he works as a good guy.
Backstage, Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano are back there. They are approached by Bobby Roode and Chad Gable, and then approached by the Revival. I don't know who wrote this, but they did a really bad job. Yeah,
the dialogue was not great. As much as I was popping to see all of these NXT guys, like, sharing a screen together on Raw. I mean, if you had replaced Bobby Roode with Jason Jordan, this would have been everything I could have hoped for, like, 2 or 3 years ago. The days of DIY American Alpha and Revival are as stacked as the top of any tag team division has been in forever. Those were amazing days. And I long for those days. So the idea that possibly we might be getting a DIY up on the main roster with Revival as well, because Roode has really opened my eyes to see how valuable he is as a tag team wrestler. But I will say, having Ciampa not exhibit any of his really heelish stuff in this or in the match makes me remember when they brought up Bobby Roode, who was as heelish could be at NXT, and there's no turn required whatsoever. Just be happy to be here on the main roster, and they did that with him. They could do the same thing with Ciampa. You never know.
Yeah, this was straight ass, this promo. It was bad. The match, though, was not bad. Gargano has a great showing early. This wasn't an NXT TakeOver barn burner by any stretch of the imagination. It was a good WWE Raw tag team match. They being DIY, bounced Wilder off the stairs. Ciampa landed several German suplexes. There was a hilarious spot where he has Dawson, and then he goes to back body drop Wilder, and Wilder gets hung up on the top rope. Mm-hmm. And you can tell he's like, I'm just going wherever the momentum takes me. I don't want this to look bad. Mm-hmm. But he was stuck in limbo. Yeah. He looked like one of those birds, those bird decorations that you can put on the end of your finger. Yeah. Yes. And it just, that was Dash Wilder. The strikes get really stiff. Ciampa reverses a shatter machine and almost gets the pin. A Johnny Wrestling slingshot DDT hits. The ref has a little bit of trouble keeping track of this match, but the spot of the match to me, that Steiner Bulldog from the Revival, that kicked ass.
Loved it. I love all their innovation of tag team moves is so great. The one of the things I love is the tag in from Dawson to Dash. Dawson does a German suplex, a bridging German suplex, and then Dash rolls through into a pinning combination, and Dawson immediately exits to go out. It's so smooth when they hit that. I love it. These guys are technicians. I love it. Listen, DIY versus Dash and Dawson is the greatest tag match I've ever seen from years ago. They can do that again on the main roster, as far as I'm concerned. Give them 25 minutes at Mania. Let them go.
This crowd is all kinds of ass, but I mean, you can't expect them to be super pumped for people they don't know either.
Yeah, that's the deal. Is it was like it would been this match in front of a hot crowd who knows the history between these guys and is happy now that finally the Revival's getting some shine on the main roster and DIY's back together again for one night only on the main roster, maybe, or are they back for good? All that stuff, that kind of intrigue in front of a crowd who really knows it, man, it would have been just fire. But as far as this crowd's going, it's like, hey, who's that guy? He's got a big beard. Like, it didn't feel like they knew anything about this.
A short little clip, that's it. And you know what you shouldn't do? Show the same clip for 7 or 8 straight weeks, then have the people come out and do literally the absence of something. What they've had EC3 and Lacey Evans do is, oh my God, it's so weird. Slingshot spear on Dawson, and DIY's finish wins it. This was fine. This would have reached higher match ratings, which are up at Fightful Select right now. But this crowd was total garbage, man.
Yeah. I was kind of hoping they would get into it by the end, but they didn't even. How would you get into it if you don't know the significance of the DIY finisher they used to do when they were baby faces, and now they're doing it again? Like, if you don't know the significance of that, why would you pop for it? You know, and that's the problem, is that you decided to do this in front of the absolute wrong crowd for it.
Another underwhelming promo. Sasha Banks and Bayley come out to crickets, but the crowd wakes up for some light "You Deserve It" chants. They put over their accomplishments and friendship and throw out to their catchphrases, but they do establish these titles will be defended across all brands, these women's tag team titles. That's good news.
Yeah. There can be no other way of doing it, in my opinion.
It's the best way. Whatever brand needs them gets them.
Yes. Yeah.
And if you're running into a situation where you can't fit a bunch of call-ups on one brand, you say, okay, well, the women's tag team titles can go tear it up on another brand. Or if they're both loaded, say, you know what, maybe they can run a program in NXT for a little bit, because you know those two girls would love to do that.
Man,
against Kyrie and EO, they would love that.
Yeah, even if it's a one-off, like just go down there and like, okay, open challenge. Who wants it? You know, the crowd in Full Sail would lose their minds if Bayley and Sasha showed up as a surprise to give an open challenge, and Kyrie and Io Shirai answered it. It would be amazing.
Nia and Tamina come out and threaten the champions, bring up how Sasha Banks always loses her title in the first defense, and they get run off. I mean, it established the next promo. I honestly assumed they would probably face each other at WrestleMania, but we'll see how it goes. Where do you think this goes, Alex?
I think they defend it successfully at Fastlane against Nia and Tamina, and then I hope there's a cross-brand defense of it at Mania. I hope that somebody. I don't know. But the rumor that I keep seeing, everyone says, "Hey, what's your speculated WrestleMania card?" I keep seeing Sasha and Bayley defending it against Trish and Lita, and I don't want it.
That's why they said the past, the future. Yeah, I get it.
I don't want to see that. I want to see like people who actually have a chance of winning and retaining and defending the belts.
Sure.
But that's just me, maybe.
Dean Ambrose backstage was a funny little highlight, I thought. Drew McIntyre came up to Triple H. He was talking to Natalya, probably about why she didn't get her match last week.
Or this week.
And Drew asks about wanting Seth Rollins this week, but Dean Ambrose shows up and slaps him. And I like Triple H's reaction. He's like, do you still want Seth, or do you want me to just...
Yeah.
Well, this match was real quick. Ambrose gets jobbed out real proper like,
Mm-hmm.
and Claymore, and that's a wrap, Alex.
Yes, it is, except for his backstage thing later.
Well,
after the
this match was a wrap. It was
But-
very quick.
No. Here's the deal. I'm fine. Listen, Dean's leaving. He's going to job out to guys, put him over on his way out, as is tradition. But I love that that his character knows that's what's happening, and backstage he could not give less of an F. And I love it. I think it's so cool. Him just coming up and slapping Drew, and then later with Seth, where he's like, "Hey Seth, why weren't you coming out there to help me?" And Seth looks at him like, "Weren't we just feuding like 2 weeks ago? What the hell?"
That's what I want. When stuff like that doesn't make sense,
I
have
love
them react accordingly.
and it's so perfect that it's Dean that is like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that." Like that's it's so good. I'm honestly, if this Dean had been the Dean we were watching for the past several months, I'd really be sad to see him leave. As it is, I'm going to miss this Dean, whatever we get of him before he leaves. But I'm so happy that he gets to go somewhere else and maybe keep this kind of a fun, loose character. Like the way he walks to the ring is just fun. Like he doesn't care.
Maybe he's going to go on vacation. Maybe he's going to go to Jacksonville. Maybe he'll go to Miami, and he can do that in style with Fightful's new beach-inspired T-shirt. Go check it out right now. It's a beauty. You're going to just run in. You're going to see, I'm trying to say something appropriate without making a Miami Vice City chainsaw reference. So I'm just going to stop there. Get the shirt. It's beautiful. It's different than any other shirt out there in the wrestling world. Enjoy. So Dean Ambrose does walk away. Man, I'm trying to keep it appropriate. Since I found out that 6th graders are watching our show, Alex, I'm like, you know what? I don't want to talk about Tony Montana chopping people up with chainsaws. I don't want to do it. I can't do it. It's not appropriate. After I sell dick pills on the show.
Yeah.
Elias is out to the ring. You could tell where this was going a mile away, Alex.
Yeah. When Drew was talking to Trips, and he said he wanted Seth Rollins. We all knew that couldn't happen, and he slowly turned around. I was so hoping it was going to be Alistair Black standing there, because Alistair versus Drew is a match I could so get into. But when they weren't announcing who Alistair was going to face, I was like, ooh, is that like it's a special surprise and they don't want to tell us? Oh no, they're just waiting for the Elias thing. Oh, okay. Disappointed.
This was a good match. This was a good TV
match. It was
match.
a good match, but it wasn't. I did not expect it to be. I thought it was going to be Alistair shows up, Black masses him, and that's his debut. I was happy the match actually turned out to be a really good TV match.
It was a good TV match. The cameraman was not familiar with Alistair Black's spot, but to be fair,
yeah,
a lot of people didn't know about this. However, this was a match on Moody Night Raw, Alex, because as Alistair Black is trotting to the ring, Michael Cole goes, "He's so moody." Why?
Here's the deal. Here's what he says. He's dark. He's moody. Wait a minute. So you thought of dark and then used a thesaurus feature on your laptop and came up with moody and said, I'll use that as a placeholder. I'll change it later, and then forgot to. Tell me the truth, Michael. That's what happened, because he's not moody. Your 15-year-old daughter is moody. Like this is no.
Again, a good match, but Alistair Black, I'm thinking, man, there's not a lot more ways to have him have his steam killed off. Although Elias is a formidable opponent, quite frankly, I don't think Elias is hurt at all by eating a black mass and getting pinned.
No, especially a black mass that connects that solidly, right to the temple. That was a good one.
That was a good one. Elias had a great knee as well, but no heat to this. It was sad.
Again, this crowd doesn't know who's the tattooed guy. I've never seen him before. Like it's not these guys. These guys were showing up hoping to they're the crowd that shows up and wants to see you play the hits. They don't want to see what's on the new album.
We are on a pay-per-view follow-up Raw review with 4 debuts, a title match.
Yep.
and we're almost through the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's how, I mean, they really didn't write a lot for this show.
No.
And that's okay to rely on your wrestling at points, but man, you got to make people care about these people.
Yeah.
You got to make people care. I was rewatching the CM Punk John Cena thing, and man, compared to today, it's amazing how far the bar has been raised for the in-ring. Because I watched that match and I go, decent. They were all over the place. It was a pretty good match, but man, the story made people care. And there's not a lot of that. In fact, they ran back a squash match from last night, and I'm wondering why.
Well, here's the deal. I was watching this match tonight and thinking, well, that was the match I wanted last night. I wanted that match. Like when I was like, why did they job out Ruby in a minute 40? Like she looked terrible last night. Tonight she looked awesome. She made Ronda look awesome. This was a great match. Ruby is, I think, consistently the most underrated performer in the women's division across both brands. I love it. You know,
I am inclined to disagree. Not about Ruby Riott. I thought Ruby Riott was fantastic in this match. I thought this was one of Ronda Rousey's poorest performances thus far.
Well, obviously there wasn't much Ruby could do about the
punching air.
You're punching air and jumping off the top to the floor. But
that's not Ruby Riott.
The way she sold some of those arm drags and hip tosses and that thing into the top turnbuckle at the end of the match, the way Ruby sold that was just
Bama Slamma.
Yeah, Bama Slamma onto the top turnbuckle.
Riott got a lot more offense in this than last night because she got none last night. STO takedown, got her nice senton. I love that. And I love that Ronda's like, yeah, do it. Who cares? I know I got busted up with a crutch and had to go through concussion testing, but who cares? Took 2 Riott kicks, including one off the top rope. Yeah. Rousey, that punch miss was bad. I'm talking Dustin Rhodes and Virgil at like the 1990 Royal Rumble bad. And if you all don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch it if they haven't edited it. Ruby Riott's facial expressions was really great, but Ronda's work here was not good in my estimation. She did win, and you're not going to hear me say that about Ronda Rousey an awful lot. I really, really enjoy her work, but it's amazing that if I were to lay out all the things that happened on this show and what could have happened, and then told you, oh, well, Alex and Sean will be through the review in 42 minutes, I'd be like, really? I would have worried that we fit within the hour, Alex. But so much of this was so inconsequential.
Right.
It was the opposite of what they've been so good at for the last several months of putting stakes on everything.
Yeah. Again, I don't know why this rematch happens. I don't know how you get a rematch for the championship after losing in a minute 40 the night before. I don't know how that works.
No immediate rematches unless you don't win the title and you lose in under like 2 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. They have 2 more of these before Fastlane. They have next week and then the go home. Like, that's it. So, I mean, they certainly this didn't really advance your storylines. We have no idea who Finn's gonna face or who the Revival's gonna face. Maybe they face DIY. Maybe. I mean, but like it's usually they're so like, okay, hey, you're facing the pay-per-view, and that's 3 weeks from now. Like we didn't get that at all. So I get, like we'll progress toward things, but there's not a lot in the picture for Mania. There's less involved for the picture at Fastlane as well. So tomorrow we're supposed to find out who Daniel Bryan's going to face at Fastlane, even though if I could lay out a little suggestion for what they should do is to not have Daniel Bryan face anybody at Fastlane, because this is my little pitch that's not going to come true at all. So Harper's almost all the way back. Let's have him join up with Rowan as be the 2 guys who are helping out Bryan. Kofi wants a match at Mania versus Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan says, okay, I'll give you that match, Kofi. If your 2 buddies can beat my 2 boys at Fastlane in a no DQ match. And let's remember how many times my boys beat the crap out of your boys before Rowan got injured, and that's the only reason they lost that match. And have that match at Fastlane be Big E and Xavier trying as hard as they can to give Kofi his shot at Mania, and have that be the story. Have like Xavier refuse to die, even though he's being just destroyed by these guys. Like, I feel like that could be amazing to have them finally pull it out and give Kofi his match at Mania. Through that there's an amazing way to tell that story to help Big E and Xavier be the ones to give Kofi his match at Mania. That would be great. And it would be such a dastardly move of Bryan to say, no, you don't even get to qualify it. They have to do it for you. I think that'd be great.
I wish that would happen. I think that would be awesome. I think it is, if there is ever, it's the right time for that match. And even if Kofi wasn't their original plan, it's like, man, you look at everything, you ride the wave, and considering the nature of their business model right now, where they get $1 billion for TV and nobody showing up to the venue, ride the wave of whatever it is the crowd gets behind, for better or for worse. If somebody is super over one way or another, ride that immediately.
That money's already in your pocket. You're playing with house money. Just do what the fans want in the moment. Like, especially if you don't have a long-term plan already. I don't know what their plan was before Kofi got involved in this whole mess. But they did this thing where they show a little preview of tomorrow. Who's going to be the person who faces Daniel Bryan at Fastlane? Well, we can assume that all of those guys are also the possibilities for a match at Mania. And they showed like Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, Randy, Ray. Like, none of those people, I feel like, would get the crowd as pumped for that match at Mania as Kofi would. Improbably, a week ago, Kofi is the guy who everyone wants to see wrestle Daniel Bryan for the WWE title at WrestleMania 35. That's amazing to me. Why would you not just give in to all the hype that's going on right now and give that match its due?
I mean, good God. Alex, this was a thing that we had kind of floated around, a month-long New Day Daniel Bryan storyline, like, what, 2 months ago on the show?
Yeah, exactly.
I see them as guys that you can transition in and out of there because they have built that up. Like, if the Steiners had done that in the 90s, I would have saw it there. I would, I see that. Eric Arsenal points out on Twitter, it was Goldust and Virgil at the 91 Royal Rumble. And he said, you mentioned the Goldust Virgil missed punch at the 91 Royal Rumble. I was 10 at the time and at that show. It really hit me hard to see that. It was bad. That I think is when I realized, oh, it's fake. It's fake, man. Guys, this week on Fightful Select Q&A podcast, subscribers can ask me as many questions as they want. I will answer them all. We have the Fightful Report podcast. I'm going to give you all exclusive news ahead of the Fightful Wrestling Weekly, update contract statuses, injury updates as well. Warren Hayes' NXT 205 Live UK review. Then we have Steven Jensen's Weekender podcast. He reviews AEW, NWA, all kinds of independent wrestling, Ring of Honor. It's a good time. Of course, we have our retro review up, St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Alex, let the people know where they can follow you on social media.
You can follow me at Pawlowski the Fourth. Back here tomorrow for some smacks downs, and NBA getting back on Thursday. Looking forward.
Amadou Diallo, the Kentucky hot streak on All-Star Weekend continues.
Yeah,
I love it. We had no wins for like 25 years, and in the last 6 years, we've had like 4 or 5. It's pretty awesome. Tuesday, guys, Fightful MMA podcast, 2 p.m. Eastern. SmackDown podcast, post-show. We have Joe Hulbert with a column coming up. Lots of neat stuff. Check it out. Thank you, guys. Leave us a thumbs up. Subscribe. We're out.